Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm going to be talking about my LD, my personal and social life, and then I'm going to be discussing my goals academically, personally, and socially. So, I was diagnosed with multiple LDs that all work against each other. Who here has ADHD in the audience? Okay, so you know how you guys often reference a squirrel and go, ooh, look, I could see a squirrel outside? That's because nobody's focused on what they're actually supposed to be doing. They are focused on a million other things that are on their minds. So that's one of the side effects that I have, is that I have the power to do whatever I want, but I don't really have the focus to do that. How ADHD affects me is that I have 1,000 thoughts going on in my head a minute. I constantly feel restless. It's harder to do any of the work that I'm supposed to be doing because I'm constantly rushing to get it done because of my hyperactivity. And then I have anxiety, which works against that also. So the way my anxiety works against that is that with anxiety, I also have 1,000 thoughts a minute, which in turn makes me more hyper. So it makes it extremely difficult to focus on whatever I need to be doing. And then I have two social pieces of my learning disability, which is expressive language disorder, which means that I have a harder time having a conversation or saying what I need to say out correctly, and I constantly worry about if what I'm saying is the right thing. Now, the other thing that I have is nonverbal learning disability, which works against that too, which is that I don't understand hand signals or people's emotions or what to say in a situation, so that also works against each other. I like to think of my learning disability as a dragon fighting fire, because if you're fighting fire and the dragon's breathing fire, you're really just fighting against yourself. Few stories, or one story broken into many parts. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with a learning disability, but before that, I didn't really understand what was going on with me. I was always sectioned off in the class. My family would fight for 2 or 3 hours over homework, and nobody really understood what was going on with me, so we'd all just start yelling. And then I'd come home every day and be bullied, so I would cry because I was always called the weird kid or the kid with the learning disability. And if any of you know how that feels, it kind of feels sucky. And then I really realized there are strategies I could do to fix it, but I had to change schools. I had to acknowledge that I had this problem, and that was a really difficult step that I needed to take. So what are some of the strategies that I really learned to deal with that? I constantly have a problem with speed versus actually doing what I need to be doing. And then I also have a problem with creativity versus frustration. I have a very vivid and creative imagination, but with my learning disability, I will get increasingly frustrated and just give up, which blows my imagination out of the water. So what do I do with that also? To study, I try highlighting and summarizing and note-taking. That's the primary way, and then I'll turn my outline into questions. In addition to that, I'll just basically draw abstract concepts on a note card for things like science to make abstract visuals to help me. Because I'm more of a concrete thinker and not an abstract thinker, so that's always been an issue for me. So that's basically how I study, and then I'll quiz myself. So when do I have time for a personal life with all the work that I do? My personal life, when I wake up in the morning, I'll either eat strawberries and whipped cream or a Kind bar or nuts or a waffle. And then my go-to foods are either tacos, fruit, meatloaf, just things like that. And then I normally, since I live in New York, it's really the city that never sleeps. So when I do go to sleep, it's about 11 o'clock. And I get that that's kind of late, but I have TV and homework and talking to friends and family, so that's relatively the time I get to go to bed. So in doing this, I have very little time for actually doing activities. But when I do activities, I do exercise, which I go to Soul Cycle, which is an indoor cycling company. And then I go to RIPT, which is a facility where they have treadmills and they go inclining as the speed progresses and the actual incline progresses. Then I have other activities that I do, like I used to ice skate, I used to swim, I interior designed over 300 rooms, I started a charity for kids with ADHD and blogged for them, and people from Russia and Canada visited my site, so that was kind of cool. And then I do a lot of calligraphy too. So what are my goals and how am I going to better my life academically? I'm going to better my life academically. I want to either go to Lynn or Curry. Those are like my top two schools. I really want to major in marine biology. And then academically, I want to get better at connecting abstract concepts. I want to be able to find the deeper meaning in what the text is saying. I want to be able to be better at math too. My personal goals, I'd like to be a happier and more confident person and go outside myself a little bit and push myself to talk to more people. I would like to travel a lot to places like Asia or Fiji or Europe. And then socially, I would like to be able to have a conversation and not be as worried about what I'm going to say and when I'm going to say it, and just push myself to talk to people who I wouldn't normally talk about. So that's a lot about me and my LD, but I realized through having an LD that, yeah, your life is going to be more difficult, but you learn a lot of life lessons and experience a lot of things that most people don't get to, and it makes you a better person with better morals. That's my presentation. Are there any questions or comments?
I really enjoyed it.